All right, buckle up, folks. We're diving headfirst into the mind of the Sigma male, a creature more elusive than Bigfoot, with a personality more complex than quantum physics. Now, you might be thinking, Sigma what? Well, let me break it down for you. Sigma males aren't your average alpha dogs. Nah, they're the lone wolves, the independent thinkers, the mysterious men who march to the beat of their own drum. They're as elusive as a winning lottery ticket and just as hard to get a hold of. Picture this. You're in a room full of people. You've got your alpha males strutting around like peacocks, commanding attention. Then in the corner, you spot him, the Sigma male. He's not clamoring for attention, but he's got it anyway. He's the enigma wrapped in a riddle, served with a side of mystery. You see, Sigma males are like the Bermuda Triangle. Everyone's heard of it, some have seen it, but nobody really knows what's going on inside. They're the unsolved Rubik's Cube in the world of dating. They're the off-the-grid, under-the-radar guys who live life on their own terms. They're like the ninjas of the social hierarchy. You never see them coming until they're gone. Sigma males are like cats, independent, unpredictable, and they won't come when you call them. They're the James Bond of the real world, minus the shaken, not stirred martinis. They're the Batman of the dating game. Dark, complicated, and always disappearing just when things start to get interesting. So what's the deal with these Sigma males? Why are they so different? Well, they're introverted, self-reliant, and they don't play by society's rules. They're not interested in the spotlight. They prefer the shadows. They're not about the fame, they're about the game. And let's be real, they're not for the faint-hearted. So if you're trying to date a Sigma male, you're in for a wild ride. And not the fun kind, like a roller coaster, more like a haunted house full of surprises and occasional scares. Now, you might be thinking, how the hell do I spot a Sigma male? Well, it's easier than finding Waldo, but trickier than spotting a vegan at a barbecue. See, the thing about Sigma males is they're like unicorns in a field of horses. They're not your typical stallions prancing around seeking attention. No, they're more like that mysterious shadowy figure in the corner, content with their own company. They're the quiet ones, the ones who don't feel the need to fill every silence with mindless chatter. They're comfortable in their own skin and don't seek validation from others, just like Batman doesn't need a sidekick. Now, don't get it twisted. They're not antisocial, they're selectively social. They're like that one friend who always seems to have an excuse not to go out yet, somehow has the most interesting stories to tell. It's like they've got an invisible do not disturb sign hanging around their neck. But when they do decide to engage, they'll blow your mind with their insight and depth. So, how do you spot a Sigma? Look for the guy who isn't swayed by the latest trends or social pressures. He's the one walking to his own beat, like a jazz musician in a world of pop stars. He's the guy who doesn't need to be the life of the party to feel fulfilled. He's content being the observer, the thinker. He's the guy who's not competing with others because he's too busy competing with himself. Like a chess player, he's always thinking several moves ahead, always keeping you on your toes, always surprising you with his unexpected moves. He's the guy who's not afraid to go against the grain, to challenge the status quo, to be different. He's the guy who doesn't need to be in a relationship to feel complete. He's his own person, independent and self-reliant. He's more elusive than a ninja and more independent than a cat. He's the guy who won't be tied down, who values his freedom above all else. So remember, if he's more elusive than a ninja and more independent than a cat, congratulations, you've found yourself a Sigma. Now good luck trying to date him. All right, folks, you've spotted a Sigma in the wild. Now what? Well, buckle up, because dating a Sigma male is like playing chess with a grandmaster and you're still struggling with checkers. Now, let's set this straight from the jump. Dating a Sigma ain't a walk in the park. It's more like a hike through the wilderness and you forgot your compass at home. These dudes are as hard to read as a book written in ancient hieroglyphics. You might catch a symbol or two that looks familiar, but the rest leaves you scratching your head. You see, Sigmas, they're the lone wolves of the social hierarchy, the ones who march to the beat of their own drum. They're not about to lay out a red carpet of attention for you. No, ma'am, you're more likely to get a breadcrumb trail that leads to a locked door. And guess what? They ain't handing out the key. Nope, you gotta find that yourself. Now, don't get it twisted. It's not that they're playing hard to get. That's not their style. They're just naturally reserved, Their inner world is like Fort Knox, and they're not about to let just anyone in. So you've got to be patient, persistent, and yeah, a little bit of a puzzle solver. Think of it like a real-life escape room. But the prize isn't a cheesy group photo, it's the heart of a Sigma. But hey, if you're thinking about dating a Sigma, you've got to value your independence, because they sure as hell value theirs. They're not the type to be glued to your side 24/7. They've got their own world, their own interests, their own pursuits, and they expect you to have the same. You're not going to be the center of their universe, and they don't want to be the center of yours. Now, you might be thinking, well, dang, this sounds like a lot of work. And you're right, it is. But let me tell you, there's a certain charm to these Sigma males. They're the enigmatic, mysterious types that keep you guessing. And if you're up for the challenge, you might just find yourself falling for their unconventional ways. But remember, dating a Sigma is not for the faint of heart. It's like trying to tame a wild stallion. You gotta have the strength, the patience, and a whole lot of courage. Because once you're in for a ride. So if you're after a Sigma, prepare for a challenge. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, it's more like a storm with a chance of occasional rainbows. And if you're brave enough to weather that storm, well, you might just find a pot of gold at the end. Or at the very least, a unique love story to tell. If you've made it this far without running for the hills, kudos to you. But don't celebrate just yet, because surviving the Sigma storm is tougher than a steak cooked by someone who can't tell their elbow from their ass in the kitchen. Alright, so you've got yourself a Sigma male, huh? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because this ain't gonna be your typical fairy tale romance. This ain't no Prince Charming, this is more like dating Batman. And I ain't talking about the George Clooney version. First things first, patience isn't just a virtue when dating a Sigma, it's a survival skill. Think of it like waiting for the subway during rush hour, except the subway is your Sigma guy, and rush hour is pretty much all the time. You're gonna need to wait for him to open up, and trust me, it's gonna take longer than a Thanksgiving Day parade. Now, understanding, this is key. You gotta get that this man marches to the beat of his own drum. He's not gonna be your typical Romeo. Hell, he might not even be your typical Groucho. But that's all right, because you're not looking for typical, are you? And then there's independence. A Sigma ain't gonna be clingy, ain't gonna be needy. You're gonna need to be cool with doing your own thing, because he sure as hell is gonna be doing his. Think of it like having your own personal space, except that space is like an entire galaxy. Now, I ain't saying this is gonna be easy. It's gonna be tougher than trying to get a cab in Manhattan during a rainstorm. But hey, if you're up for it, then you're up for it. Just remember, you gotta be ready for the roller coaster ride. And I ain't talking about the fun kind at Coney Island. So if you're brave enough to date a Sigma, remember these tips. They might not make the journey any easier, but at least you'll be prepared for the ride. Well, that's the 411 on dating a Sigma male. It's not for the faint-hearted, but hey, if you like a challenge, it might just be your cup of tea. Let's take a quick jaunt down memory lane, shall we? We've delved into the enigmatic world of the Sigma male, spotted a few in the wild, no safari hat required, played the dating game, and even survived the Sigma storm. Phew, sounds like a roller coaster ride, doesn't it? Dating a Sigma is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. It's tough, it's frustrating, and just when you think you've got it, they'll throw you a curveball. But oh, the thrill of the chase, the satisfaction when you've cracked that code. It's not everyone's jam, but for those adventurous souls, it's the ultimate reward. So if you're still keen on dating a Sigma after all this, then I salute you. You're braver than most. And if you enjoyed this wild ride, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Check out our other videos for more fun and madness. Until next time, folks.